Hi, everybody. I see that people are just being led into the webinar. I'll give you like 60 seconds to get in, get situated, get your audio connected, and then we will begin. Attendees are still coming in. Okay, let's get started. I'd like to be on time. Thank you for joining us today. This is the DataOps for Digital Agencies webinar. We are very excited to host this panel and talk about the importance of data and data operations at digital agencies. As your host, Rivery, we have a very interesting background. I'll just give you like the 20-second overview of what we are. We were founded by three guys who spent almost 2 decades in the world of BI consulting and system integrations. And they realized that one of their biggest challenges, one of the most repeat things that they were doing in setting up BI at some of the world's biggest brands was the workflows and automation that we're missing in terms of loading data, transforming data, and basically managing and orchestrating all of that data for all these different companies. And they said, nobody's really addressing that issue. You have your ETLs, you know, at the beginning, and you have your transformation tools, but nobody's taking a holistic view of data ops. And that's what we're doing at Rivery. We are enabling companies to kind of win with data and say, hey, this is what I want to do with my data. This is how I want to connect it, transform it, orchestrate it, send it, ELT, reverse ETL, all that fun stuff. That's what we do. If you'd like to learn more, for sure, check out our website after. And you can even sign up for a free trial and play with it yourself. I kind of spoke to that. This is really like the key slide for me, and I also like my last slide, in that the data ops mission has shifted. And I think this is universal among all of our panelists, so I'll introduce in 1 second. The idea now is you need to be in control of your data. Even in doing the prep session, you'll hear about like the need for like instant insights wherever and whenever, as you know, salespeople, everybody in your organization, customer facing, your success team, your product team at digital agencies, you know, every interaction with a client can always be made better with data. And at the end of the day, for those in charge of data ops and data operations, it's really about orchestration and being the conductor and making sure that, you know, data goes into the warehouse, you have your single source of truth, and that you can really extract the insights. But I don't want to talk for our panelists. I want to introduce them. Joining us today from Gupta Media is Jordan Maddox. He's in charge of the strategy and analytics. Also joining us today is Khalil Sheikh, the Executive VP of Solutions and Strategy at Saxon Global. And from Rivery is Vardit Jones, our VP of Product, who works with many of our agency customers. And we really try to build a product that fits the very unique needs of the modern digital agency. And she will talk about, you know, what it means and the feedback that she hears from customers and what they're looking for, and to bring kind of a technological perspective to our discussion. But who better to introduce themselves than the actual person? So Jordan, you want to just say hello and kind of give us an overview about you and Gupta Media?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Jordan Maddox, and yeah, I've been working at Gupta Media for about 9 years now. Last 5 years leading the strategy and analytics team here. You know, our agency, we've been around for about 20 years. We're a Boston-based digital agency. We work with some of the, you know, biggest brands in the world, certainly in entertainment. It's a full service agency, so we have a design team, media buyers, and we have our engineering team all sort of working together under one roof. We have our own reporting, custom reporting. You can go to the next slide here. Yeah, this is our proprietary reporting suite reports, SE. We use this to operationalize a lot of the decisions that we make as a team. We run a lot of different campaigns, and having the most up-to-date data all centralized in one place where our team can go and use it and share it with clients is super important. But in addition to that, we're also putting together a lot of custom reporting. And those custom reports, are made in everything from Google Data Studio to Tableau, etc. You can skip over to the next slide here. And a lot of this stuff is with such a diverse client set, working across so many different industries. You never really know what someone's going to need in a dashboard. You never really know what data points you're going to need to show. So if reports is sort of the thing that we've designed to be like our source of truth, something that we can always depend on to be consistent and the same every time we look at it, these custom reports are what we've built to be a little bit more agile, so that we can speak directly to a client's specific concerns, no matter what that really is. You can go to the next slide. And here you can just see our list of clients. We work with a lot of different brands, big brands, like Amazon, Fender Guitars, Sony Music, Disney, Red Bull. We also, we got our start working a lot with music. So we have a lot of music clients, a lot of festival clients. We also work with some sports teams. Our partner list is pretty much anyone that sells advertising. All of the big social advertising platforms, we're on those. But we're also using a lot of the third-party marketing platforms that help clients sort of consolidate all of their additional marketing data that might be outside of simply just like paid media spend. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into what we do and what I do and how I work with Gupta Media.
Thanks, Jordan. I have to say, probably the coolest roster of customers of any digital agency in America. I'm sure you guys go to some really fun parties. And just one comment on that first slide, those dashboards. As a VP marketing, I almost get like panic attacks when I see all the channels that I have to manage, internally for Rivery. And the fact that you guys are doing that at scale for all of these customers and managing that data is I can't understate like how monumental that task is. Thanks for the introduction. Khalil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Khalil Sheikh, and I run the solution division for Saxon Global. We are a pure play BI company. What it really means is like we touch upon from anything from strategy, advisory, to turnkey project versus managed services around any layer of whether it's data ingestion, data quality, master data management, data warehousing, data lake, any reporting services as a service. For example, if it's operational reporting or transactional reporting or big data reporting or IoT reporting, and building the data science on top of it. So we do a lot of work around focus on outcomes. So if we talk about marketing, for example, propensity to pay, if you're running a campaign, who are the audience and how do we make sure that they are being identified for our product and services, whoever buyer happens to be, or propensity to churn, or sentiment analytics, or language processing, several things of that sort. And we also manage it. So we do data engineering as a service, BI as a service, data visualization as a service to build your scorecard, dashboard, any analytics that you need to do in terms of making sense out of your data. Our focus is a lot of retail customers, media customers, healthcare, financial verticals. So we play in multiples of verticals, but we go pretty agnostic of the cloud versus tool at this point in time. We do have about, my team is about 600 plus resources, all BI centric resources. So we do high-end consulting on BI services. The next slide, it shows our data science platform. It's a very busy slide, but it basically tells you that if you have, if you're running campaign analytics versus any other analytics in your line of business, we work through across the tools, right? And of course, Rivery is our partner, so we use Rivery as one of the tools, but we also have a lot of other cloud-centric relationship, whether it's AWS or Google Cloud or Azure or IBM. We work with quite a few of them. And if you look at visualization tool as well, we pretty much work with Tableau, Power BI, Click. We have a special relationship with some of these tools. We do a lot of modernization here. So not only on the BI side, if let's say you are running SSRS or Crystal or MicroStrategy, we modernize your data set, whether it's coming from multiple on-premise data sources versus third-party sources, take them to the cloud, but also build your BI engine on top of it. And when I say BI engine, it's not just reporting, but also doing outcome-based reporting, depending on if you're running supply chain, manufacturing options. We are department focused at that point in time, beside vertical focus.
Thanks, Khalil. And Vardit, you wanna?
Yeah. Yes, so I'm Vardit Jonas. I'm a VP product here at Rivery. I'm based in Israel, and as part of my role, I also get to meet many clients and many agency clients as well. So I'm very excited to be here.
Okay, thank you. Nice introductions. Let's get rolling with my first question. And I think throughout this this panel, I'm going to count on Vardit to be kind of the overview and talking, representing lots of agencies. Jordan is definitely our top of funnel guru, and Khalil is our bottom of funnel guru, doing all the stuff that does the conversion metrics and optimization and machine learning. So my first question is, how did we get here? Why are we sitting talking about a webinar about digital for digital agencies, about how did you guys become data providers? And it's the chicken and egg question. Like, was it that customers said, I need to see data because I want proof that you're actually doing something? Was it that agencies kind of started like providing data and customers liked it, and so it was more and more data? Or, you know, where did the demand, I would say, first come from, and how did it like kind of grow in your experience over the past few years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can speak to this one. I mean, I would say that you know, our agency, I think we view ourselves as being like proactive and innovative. We're always looking for an edge over other advertisers. We always want to be teaching our customers like a new way of thinking or a new way to target advertising. So we're always being the first people to try to test new things and do targeting methods. And you know, a part of conducting all of these tests and trying out new things is validating that they're true and proving that they work. So I think in general, we tend to raise the bar in terms of how our clients look at data. You know, the amount of advertising data when I started probably 10 years ago was really not that much. We were running ads on Google Search, Microsoft Display, banners. Facebook was kind of like a nice to have platform at the time. And, you know, I think we, being a proactive, innovative agency, like we've stayed abreast of how much the data has exploded in the last 10 years. And not even just like the number of platforms, right? Like the number of platforms has exploded for sure. But then like the dimensionality of the data, like before you were running Facebook ads on right-hand rail, now there's probably 10 different placements you could pick, right? So that causes things to grow. But then, you know, it's not even just the placements, but it's how you're measuring the data. It used to be CPC, CPM, now it's CPA, ROAS, all sorts of different stuff, new optimization methods. So, I think as it gets more and more complex, clients have more and more questions, and we need to find a way where we can get people answers that they need very quickly, very fast. And I think in order to have been a successful agency for the last 10 years, you would have really had to ride the wave the right way. So.
Very interesting. I remember the right-hand rails and conversations with Facebook. They're like $100,000 minimum, then 50,000. Even they were experimenting at the time. And then there was also like, it was almost like Bitcoin back in the day. Like every company that I started my career agency, they're like, we need likes. We need everybody to like our page because we know that it's going to be cheaper today than it is tomorrow. So everybody was in a race for likes, and to think like how those metrics just evolved within a single channel. Khalil, anything you'd like to add? You're on mute, Khalil.
And I can take it until
can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we hear you.
Yeah. So what we have seen in our customers, right, it sort of happened together. Our customers started asking almost near real-time interaction with their prospect, especially when I'm talking about campaign analytics, right? This sort of forced them to start thinking and saying, how do I analyze my data that is available today and create a recommendation that could be fed into the system of choice, right? It could be CRM system, it could be BPO systems, or call centers and whatever not, right? They wanted to replace cold calling with social selling, smart social selling, right? Identify the customers, identify what their buy might be, and then so basically reach out that way, right? Share the relevant content, expertise on part of their solution, services, product, whatever else. Also, they wanted to reduce their spend, offline marketing spend. And they wanted to have highly targeted messages that could go out and achieve the right result that they are seeking, right? So know your customer, target the right customers, sell the right product or services. And the last one was also we have seen here is, do the feedback, use the feedback and sentiments to drive insightful thought to marketing campaigns. So very proactive way of reaching out to your customers. So these are the three things, but we have seen that it happened jointly. We were reaching out and asking our customers. So we have some customers in the media industry as well, where we are talking and building some of these models for them. And they wanted to learn, and these are smaller organization, 500 million and above, but the larger organization, Disney's of the world, Jordan talked about, right? There the experience may be very different. They may be launching a new set of products and services, and they want to know who my audience would be. So we have seen that there is some kind of a melting happens where customers were seeking answers and did not know how to go about it, or customer already have an answer, but they wanted to improve upon how to reach out and how to get most out of their spend.
Yeah, and I don't think there's an option today not to be data driven. Data is everything and it's everywhere, and agencies must be the data providers for their clients in order to keep up, as Jordan said, with the ever increasing volume of data and velocity of new types of application and sources and at the end of the day, data is translated to money and to time and to translated to product, to process, to information. And the agencies are there to help transform the data into decision and the insights into action. So there is no, I think there is no, you asked chicken and egg. I feel like today there is no option not to be data driven and not to be the provider for the clients, for the end client.
And what it says, I just want to add one thing to it. Some of our larger customers, we have seen sometimes 40, 50 different data sources that we are bringing together in a data lake or data warehouse. But besides, while you're collecting the data, you got to understand what is the outcome. What am I seeking to do? Right. So that insightfulness that Vajit was talking about is very critical, that while collection of data, there are lots of companies that we come across where lots of data is there, but they're still not able to answer some very basic questions, right? They will, they get drowned into the sea of information. So this is where the specialty also there, that how do you do smart data collection? How do you have some kind of a transformational strategy around the data, right, from a quality perspective? And then how do you drive to the ultimate result, which is insightful, actionable BI that not only you can learn from, but also feedback or take that information into your system of choice, where your day-to-day operational leaders can use that data and actually bend the strategies.
Okay, so let's keep rolling on that theme and talk about like 3 very successful, data first companies on the line right now. What is the roadmap to becoming a digital first agency or a digital first organization? Is it, a cultural thing? Is it a technology thing? Is it having the right talent in place? Is it dispersing, data democratization? What is your blueprint for like making a data first digital agency?
Should I go first?
Sure.
So what I have seen in various of our customers is the culture start at the top, right? So if you want to make your data insightful, then the leadership or the executives who are actually thinking through the new product and services. So number one is data-driven culture at the very top, and then it percolates to the bottom, right? Metrics has to be chosen with a lot of care and thought through. How do I access this data? Where the data is coming from? Quantify all the uncertainty in acquiring the data, storing the data, and visualizing the data, right? It's not just the skills. So skills are very important, like your data scientists or your data analysts or other people are very important, but you don't want to do something where it becomes a feel-good project. So making sure that the overall outcome is fully defined, proof of concept are robust, not fancy and brittle. Lot of thinking analytics to help employees, not just customers, employees in a sense that the people who are going to use this data, it's not good enough that VP of marketing understand what is the outcome, but how do you take that information to every level in the organization beyond the customer? So customers' information is important, but how do I use that information to enable better campaigns, better lead generation, better outcomes, and make sure that it happens in a timely fashion. It's not big, it doesn't, like some of our project has, like larger companies go forever, right? So you have to have milestones and outcome defined every 2 weeks, every month. So you start seeing the data and start making decisions accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally second that, that it starts at the top. I think our agency, when I started out here, it was 20 or so people. It's like 70 people now. We do a lot to try to establish like a shared language and a shared understanding and make sure that people who enter the company, they're sharpening their analytical tool set and laying a foundation. We do hire a number of people who are like entry-level people, and you can have people entering the organization with all sorts of different, backgrounds and familiarities with that stuff. And so I think there are formalized trainings. This is the tool, this is how you can use this tool, but there's also more mentorship, I think, which is, this is the tool, but this is why we created it, and this is how you get the most out of it, and this is how you use it to present to clients and speak with clients. And I think that mentorship aspect is really important. If you only train people how to use the tools, they won't be used the right way. So there's that. I think we design a lot of tools. We make a lot of different tools for people to use. Sometimes it can take a long time to actually build out the right dashboard or the right spreadsheet, what have you, if the data is not organized or it's not accessible or you can't get it easily or you have to always export it and do all of this stuff. Having the right stack of technology that makes it easy for you to get the data that you need at the time that you need it, consolidate it, organize it, and then share it out to the relevant parties so that they can use it on their own time without getting into bottlenecks with different teams and ownership and things like that. You can find safe ways to structure your data and share it within your organization so that people can use it. That removes the hurdles to becoming a data-centric organization, giving people the ability to be data-centric and make it easy for them to be smart, I think is probably one of the most important things that we try to do.
Yeah, and I'll put the angle of product. I'll put my product hat. Data is really everything, and it's not just for marketing, advertising. We use, you see magnitude of tools also for product analytics. How are customers using the product? How can I maybe upsell or cross-sell or improve the user experience based on the data? And defining KPIs as well. Also, how are you going to measure success of a certain feature or a certain capability in the product and measure that? And all decisions need to be based on the data you collect. So definitely, it is part of the culture, not just because of the type of the company Reverie is and the type of clients we have, but also if you want to be successful, if you want to provide top-notch user experience and be a leader, you have to be based on data. The whole culture of the company, whether they're agency, software company, needs to be centered on data.
Yeah, one thing I would like to add to this comment, what we have seen is when you take the data strategy and then you evolve it to information or insight and intuition and wisdom across the company, those are the kind of companies that started to change. I have a media customer right now where we are building some of these outcome-based models for them. This is where they started seeing that even though they had a reach of let's say 100,000 to 200,000 audience at a given point in time, but their turnaround was only single digit. And as they started thinking through data turning into information for their audience, whoever was reaching out, all of a sudden that is turning into 8 or 10% success rate, and they're still evolving, right? So how do you take the data while you're collecting the data and start thinking of like, okay, what do I need to do in order to percolate across my organization in terms of information and wisdom? Because collector of data does not help anybody.
Right.
Okay, so
mountains of raw data, but that companies do not have time to dig through.
If that, and I think we're rolling already into the next topic. If we talked about like the blueprint and it's clearly dispersed data access or insight access throughout the organization, what are the key challenges in making that happen? Is it, the volumes of data? Is it real time? Is it just getting access? Is it calling it data? Maybe we need to call it insights. Like Leah was saying.
Yeah, the cultural resistance. I'll tell you one thing, right, Ari? One of the biggest challenge, even when the board and executives are, because we are coming from a services background, right? Here we face probably 20, 30 customers in a given time frame. And we see that how they do things today versus what is going to be, even when they are sold on the value set, even the board is sold on the value set, the cultural resistance is the meaningful and probably the most resistance path to get into the engagements, right? The people are used to of doing how they accumulate the data, right? ETLs and everything else, right? And they don't want to do change. They don't want to change the tools. They don't want to go from on-prem to cloud, right? Whatever that is. So I have seen in 30 plus years of this industry, it's like we are getting better, but at least the executives are more aligned, because if you show them a POC which is valued in terms of what they are seeking, the IT and rest of the organization. So cultural resistance is number one. How do you make data accessible to users across the chain? Right. So if it's a marketing team, how do you make sure that everybody knows what a VP dashboard sees, right? And the last one is lots of data is being collected, right? So people are drowned in the data, right? So how do you make the insightful? And sometimes it's in the head of somebody, right? A very wise man in the organization knows what he wants to do, but how do you have him translate that vision into a dashboard, right? Without going through the set of data. There are companies which I have seen who have 50, 60, 100 reports, from left to right, 50 columns, right? But how do you make sense out of the data into meaningful activity? So so cultural resistance, making data accessible to all levels to make decisions on that data, and data clutter.
Jordan, I know you have some unique challenges, with the type of clients you have and, the size of the roster. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. We work with a lot of record label clients. And so one of the things that's interesting that's I guess unique to record labels is they're like 100 little companies in one, because they have so many different artists on their roster. So we have a super high, volume of individual projects, where it might be a first single, second single, album launch, then maybe a tour or something like that, appearances. They all sort of have their own little initiatives. That all boils down to us, like certain months of the year, we have about 1,000 active campaigns running. That's a lot of data and a lot of different questions that different clients are gonna want to ask at any given time. Initially what we had and what we still do use today, Reports SC, our own reporting system, is, we built it. It has our own custom, ETL connections. It's pulling in data from most of the main advertising platforms, but it's doing so with the metrics that aren't going to change, like spend, clicks, impressions, things like that. And the reports that are generated are, pre-existing, predefined reports. They're not flexible. They're not as filterable. What helps us is, having that built answers the main operational questions, allows us to put controls in place so that we, are spending X amount of money on a project and no more, and it can automatically be paused and it goes into our accounting and all that. Rivery and BigQuery and these other tools help us answer questions that clients have that are more complex, allows us to be flexible, quickly adapt when, we work with Fender guitars, and all this iOS 14 stuff has been going on. They had this client 2 separate pixels to do conversion tracking, but after iOS 14 came out, having 2 separate pixels is really not a best practice. We had to switch everything up. That means you're sort of, changing all of your internal reporting to look at different metrics and all this stuff. So being able to be very flexible and still keep, show them the data that is exactly what we want to show them to answer questions about their acquisition program, super important. I don't think it's something that we would have necessarily done in our proprietary reporting system, but Rivery allowed us to, create these dashboards with ease. So
I think in addition to everything that's said by Jordan and Khalil, I see another challenge. I see agencies, they have another layer of complexity or abstraction, because they have to scale the business. So it's not just a single client and ETL and dashboard. They have to scale also quickly. As Jordan said, some have maybe 100,000 of sub accounts. So how do you do it in a scalable way, easy way that's almost like a no-brainer? Do I add more headcounts the more clients I have, or do I use solution that would allow me to scale quickly? Because the end clients, they simply want it to work. They don't care about the complexity of setting it up. They don't care about upgrades of sources. They don't care about industry changes. They want it to work. And I want to mention like the mega event of Apple with iOS 14.5 that affected millions of businesses just recently and caused a wave of changes on a very, very short notice. Clients of agencies, because we hear from agencies, they understand, but they don't get it. They still want it to work. They still want the same level of service, and the complexity behind everything behind does not matter. They want their value. So that's another, I mean, agencies, how do they scale quickly? How are they providing a seamless service and bringing clients a time to value as quick as possible?
And with just to add to that, with like a diverse like set of clients on our roster, like the set of tools that they use is even more diverse. You know, we have the tools that we use in our company that we're familiar with, but oftentimes we're going in and we're learning new tools, we're learning new platforms, new data sources, all of this stuff. And the worst thing, like, is when you have this awesome data architecture set up, you have it built out, and then you can't get the data somehow, and you have to figure out a way to manually import it or whatever. Having the ability to get a super wide variety of data sources is sort of like, I don't know, it just makes you rest easy and knowing that you can fall back on that to get what you need.
Okay, amazing, amazing insights. Let me throw a toss up to everybody. Where do you think, the industry is headed? And this can kind of be also your closing remark. So we can keep this to like a tight 45. I'd love to hear, like, where do you think, like, what are you concerned about in the next couple of years? Is it things more privacy issues? Is it more access to data? Is it, more transparency for agencies? Where are digital agencies headed? And if you want to have any closing remarks, maybe we'll start with Vardit this time.
Sure. So differentiation is key. Agencies need to differentiate in the value they provide. Part of main value is obviously actionable insights. So using AI, machine learning, A/B testing, other techniques we see from our agencies that provide really the most accurate and actionable insights. But another differentiation that I consider, again, is time to value. Part of the value is being able to show value quickly, iterate quickly, validate quickly, optimize quickly, instant time to value. And for that, you really need a strong DataOps provider to carry the heavy lift of ingesting the data and managing the data and transforming. And then really you can focus on innovation and providing actionable insights to your clients.
Thanks. Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, boy, we had so much data in 2020, and with iOS 14.5 and everything, like there is a little bit less data. There are some questions about attribution out there. I think there's no doubt attribution is only going to improve. People will adjust, people will adapt, and all of that. But I think this is a time where agencies that can create a holistic perspective or a holistic view of data are going to be best set up to show their clients what the impact of advertising is. Before, you could just point to a number on a screen. And now I think you have to look at more macro level movements when, say, maybe your ROAS isn't as high as it used to be or something like that. If you can't tell those stories and you don't have your data set up in the right ways, part of the benefit, part of what you're driving for your customers, the sales, the added growth, the lift, that's going to get lost. So I think it's important for digital agencies to, take a step back and be able to connect themselves to those higher level trends and movements in your client's business.
Right, and prediction. So I've seen companies that maybe within a 24 or 48 hours can predict the success of certain campaigns or certain initiatives. And then predictability is definitely going to be a focus in the next few years.
Khalil, last thoughts?
Yeah, so what we are seeing is like there's a lot of organizations, especially during COVID-19, they want to watch out for their budgets. So they want to make sure that their campaigns are much more are turning ROI. So a lot of customers of ours are on-prem. They want to utilize cloud. They want to modernize their data set because there's a huge cost of maintaining various different data sources and ETLs and APIs and other things. If you take it to the cloud, you're looking for a product and platform and a services company that can manage it in a way that is scalable, flexible, secured. You talk about privacy, you talk about other areas where data needs to make sense. So what we are seeing a data lake culture more so today, where people are saying, okay, let's just for first phase, take the data, put it in somewhere where we can start asking questions with that data. So that data warehouse concept that we used to have, or ODS concept, I think is getting a little bit limited today, and saying, okay, I have streaming data, I have social media data, just put it out there, and then let's think through what is the outcome that we seek out of it. So I think we are at a stage where data is going to be, especially the volume of data and variety of data and speed of data, and the demand that this has to be a real-time or near real-time actionable insight so we can make decisions and make best use of our budgets is very critical for the business. It's almost do or die, right? So we are seeing that there's a huge upside for all of us at this point in time, where campaigns are going to drive the journey. This is where the leads gets generated, right? So how do I make sense out of that lead and capitalize them? So I'm seeing that outcome-based data strategies as well as data visualization would be the name of the game, especially if you combine it with the cloud.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
I would say, yep. Sorry, Bardi, go ahead.
No, I just said absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
totally agree.
From my perspective, and especially the impact of iOS 14.5, companies, especially mobile first companies, lost just about 96% or 94% of their data. But with that remaining 6%, you're going to see some really interesting startups, I think, around machine learning and AI and predictive analytics. One of my previous companies just went public, basically doing sampling of the internet and providing predictive competitive analytics. And I think we'll see a rise of that, especially in the mobile industry, to take that solid 6% of data and people who are opting in and being able to extrapolate, conversions and campaign success quickly. The Googles and the Facebooks are already doing it, but to be able to do it across your entire customer base and prospect audience is going to be key. We have like 1 minute left, and I just want to open it up and see if there's any questions from the audience. Feel free to use the question and answer if you want to just shoot a question in there. And while people are contemplating their questions, I'll point to, we have a DataOps checklist for digital agencies. It's a new ebook. I will, actually I can copy the link right here and I will share it in the chat to everybody shortly. I don't see any questions coming in, and we're just wrapping up here. So I think we'll end the Q&A, but I'm going to send the link here in the chat. If people would like to, you don't need to download or anything, you just click it, it opens the PDF directly. A very nice checklist for DataOps, for enterprise DataOps for digital agencies. And I would just like to say a big thanks to Jordan, Khalil, and Vardit for joining us today. For everybody who joined, if you missed parts of it, if you'd like to share it, we will be sending out a recording afterwards. If you're interested in learning more about how big brands manage their data, we have a webinar in 2 weeks with AB InBev, with Anadot, who's doing some really cool AI stuff on smart alerting, and a former Bring VP and former Googler who will talk about like why enterprise data projects fail internally inside big companies, and how to overcome that. So thank you everybody for joining, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye everybody.
Bye.